You're listening to Pop This, the podcast where two women talk about everything pop culture. Here are your hosts, Lisa Christiansen and Andrea Warner.
So, AG,
Yes.
It's been a week. And actually, when I say it's been a week,
has.
it's only been 5 days. But like I can't remember if I did mention it on the podcast, but like my grandma broke her hip a few weeks ago, and we were really anxious for her to like get out of the hospital because of COVID, because we don't, it's not a great place to be in the hospital right now. And so they let her out of the hospital earlier, like quite a bit earlier than they would normally have let her out. And so she ended up coming to live with Carlos and I while she convalesces because there were some stairs at my sister's that there was just no way.
And she normally lives with your sister.
She normally lives with my sister full time. She stays with us a few nights a week usually. So we do have like weekly sleepovers with her, but like any grown woman has weekly sleepovers with their grandmother. So anyway, so she like, so right now it's Wednesday. She got to our place on Friday afternoon, and it has been probably the longest 5 days of all of our lives because
Oh dear.
no, like I'm so glad she's here, and obviously like I want her here more than anything else in the world. So like I'm not like ungrateful about that. But like, did you know round the clock care of someone who's 87 years old and is recovering from a broken hip is quite taxing on both the patient and the caretaker.
I can imagine.
Poor grandma.
Yeah.
Like she's been in so much pain. And so anyway, I'm happy to report that after lots of really long days and like no sleep, and like I camped out on the couch to like make sure I could like turn her in the middle, anyway.
Wow, you're such an angel. She's so lucky to have you.
No, I'm really lucky to have her. Like I'm only really like, I could have definitely turned out to be a different person if it were not for her. And I'm at least halfway decent as a human now.
So you've been told.
A lot of credit to all the folks who had a hand in raising me. But anyway, I'm like really glad she's here. And I keep looking towards the door to see if her light turned on, because I have to be ready to spring into action, because, she has to have an assistant to go to the bathroom, and like she can't really move very well on her own. And we've become very intimate, more so than we ever anticipated, in terms of just like how we take care of her. Carlos is also helping out, and like we know about like different like commode techniques for emptying, that kind of stuff. Like we are in it.
Wow,
we are in it. And
you're regular nurses at this point.
Oh my god, I always had a lot of respect for nurses. I come from like a lot of people in my life have worked in like hospital care and nursing and elderly care and stuff like that. But wow, so much respect for and it's physically demanding. Like like it is emotionally demanding. It's like mentally demanding, but it's also physically demanding. And also like obviously all those things like in triple for grandma, because she's so frustrated and in pain, and it sucks.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like, even if you're like a regular person having pain in your body, it just can take over your life and
totally
just make you so miserable. And I just can't even imagine like how it feels when you're older and it's, your mobility is taken away and you have to rely on people to help you with everything. It's got to be rough.
That's the thing. Like, I think there's like, even people like you love who want to support you and help you. Like, it's just, it just sucks to be dependent in any way, you know? And so like, I'm like really aware of that. And like, she really does value her independence so much. And like, so that, you know, you just want to have like as many, I don't know, as much respectful conversation as you can have, but also then like when things get super frustrating and they do, be able to like be like, okay, so I know that I sound like I'm yelling right now, but I just like need you to know that I am not mad at you. I'm just like really frustrated about X, Y, and Z, and like really like articulate that frustration.
Wow, that is such a mature thing to say when you get frustrated. I mean, I should try that.
Well, I have to say, I think like a lot of conversations like that actually like probably like Carlos and I have developed over our like throughout our relationship. And so as I sort of like get older, I become more, I don't know, it just becomes more normalized for me to have conversations like that. And it's been helpful in like, not to say I haven't had like definitely like some emotional breakdowns and been like have I like dry cried myself into nothingness this week? Yes.
Oh,
have I also wet cried myself?
The full gamut.
All the different feelings. Oh, but like so has grandma. So yeah. And I just like, I don't know. There's just so few options for people. Anyway, heartbreaking for so many people. All sorts of feelings to people who live with chronic pain as well. Like that sucks so much. And I just like, I don't know. Getting reminded of it frequently is, it just like, you just like, I just want her to be better, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. And like healing, like I just want her to heal. And it's been really fun though to, like sort of time her like figure out pain management. Turns out I'm pretty good at that because you know I love time, right? I love to like be on a schedule. I love to make a list.
Just for people listening, when Andrea tells me she's going to meet me somewhere, she's so specific. Like, I'll be there in 3 minutes.
Yeah, I'm just like obsessed with time.
And you are there in exactly 3 minutes.
Yeah, I've always like, it's just always been like kind of a gift. I understand that like, I mean, but I don't get mad at people if they're not on time. I just want to be clear about that. Like
well, yeah, because I'm not on time very often, and
most
we
people
probably
aren't.
would be friends if you cared about that kind of thing a lot.
No, I just love it for me. It's like a personal challenge for myself. Like it's like a kind of competition that like doesn't have a loser, except I like, you know, I guess.
Sometimes I arrive at places that we're going to before you, like once in a blue moon, and I am so like surprised when I get there, and I have to make sure, like, am I in the right place? Is it the right day? Is it the right time? What went wrong? Like, why am I here first?
What went wrong?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, can you imagine in the future when we're able to arrive at the same places?
No, not really.
I know, me neither. What a lie. The future's a lie. Shut up.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. Anyway, you know it's not a lie? This movie. I love this movie.
Are we segueing?
Oh, was that a... Oh, no, we can't segue to that because you were going to tell me something wild about Saturday Night Fever.
Oh, well, now that we've had this conversation about your grandma, it's like comparatively the stupidest thing I could probably follow it up.
Let's do it.
But so I'm at the point in the pandemic where I like, it's just like I've seen everything I'm vaguely interested in, and now I just watch things because I'm curious.
Oh, okay.
And,
yeah.
So Saturday Night Fever is on Amazon Prime.
Uh-huh.
And
Yep.
it's such a cultural touchstone, right? Like
Yeah.
John Travolta in that disco pose on the dance floor. And then, like, I tried to Google it, and I couldn't figure out what the movie was really about, except for him discoing. And
Yep.
then I watched the trailer, and the trailer tells you nothing.
Nope.
And so I decided to watch the movie, and
I'm so sorry.
it's like a harsh movie. Like,
It is gritty
it's
AF.
gritty.
Like it is.
Yeah. I was not prepared for that. I thought it was about like John Travolta and like having a dream of being a disco dancer and
You know, this
succeeding or something. Like, I just thought it was a simple thing. But
this reminds me,
wow.
like there are quite a few movies, and this is going to be like this coming up a bit of a content warning for everyone listening. So if you know, sexual violence content warning right now. But anyway, there are quite a few movies that are like kind of culturally beloved or culture like either as like high art or low art or whatever. Like I think of Saturday Night Fever and Showgirls as two films that would be examples of these things that are like just like things people really love or love to hate or whatever, that both include violent gang rapes as part of their film premise, like part of the actual plot of the story, that people just put that aside. It's like they dance around those things. And I mean that, I guess, not pun intended, but it works. Anyway, and like they just like it's as if they just like forget that like it like that's just like a oh, that's, you know, that's an afterthought. You can like work around that. Like how? As soon as I saw when I saw both of those films for the first time, and they probably were like kind of like a few years apart anyways, but I remember Saturday Night Fever, I got to the part of like a violent gang rape. I was like, what the hell is this? And I remember watching Showgirls for the first time finally, like not like it was like, I don't know, probably only like 10 years ago or whatever. And you hear about how this like is this ridiculous film, and it's like such a cult classic because it's so bad. And then you get to the end, and it ends on a violent gang rape. And I was just like,
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Like it made me actually kind of infuriated as like how it's like a drinking game that's like treated as fun in Gilmore Girls. Like if you end the movie before the final 10 minutes, maybe.
Right.
Saturday Night Fever, though, that is like a centerpiece in the middle of the movie.
I know. And I just like, I kind of like, I went back to sort of read the description again after the movie's over, because I'm like, why didn't they warn you about this stuff? And they do say provocative urban tragedy. Those three words,
provocative urban tragedy,
are in the description. And I'm like, yeah, I guess so. That kind of covers it. I did not pay attention enough to those three words.
I mean, they don't lead with that in any of it. It's so weird to me. Like,
yeah. And it's so like, I know like you've compared it to Showgirls, which is not a 70s movie, but I was just like, man, the 70s movies were just like so rough. Like,
but I think like, I do think a lot of movies that like, probably like even before like 2010, like they're, I don't know if I want to like make this grand statement because I don't know if I can back it up for sure, but even just like whenever I rewatch something that has like this sort of component of like pretty horrific sexual violence, I feel like it's almost treated as unexceptional unless that is specifically the trauma of the film.
Right.
You know? So like The Accused, obviously.
Right.
That is given the gravitas it deserves, but like, oh my God.
But so like the end of Saturday Night Fever, like there's someone like, sorry, this is a spoiler alert for everybody.
The movie's like 40 years old, I think.
But like one of his friends like falls to his death off a bridge.
Yeah.
And at the end, he's just like, goes over to his girlfriend's house and he's like, oh, I'll tell you about my day. I'll tell you about what happened later. But let's talk about my future right now. And like, moving. I'm gonna move to New York and find an apartment, and like he's just like, yeah, that's something that happened that I'm just gonna sweep under the rug for now.
The only way to like, climb to a different social class, I suppose, is to literally have your friends die, and that propels you into the next like social stratosphere. Because otherwise, like you're just like some kid in a crappy neighborhood, and your dreams mean nothing.
Yeah, you need to do like a sort of rewrite the description for people on it for Amazon Prime, so like people can better understand what this movie is about before they hit play.
I mean, provocative urban, what was it?
Tragedy.
Provocative urban tragedy. I mean, they just need to lead with that. Like,
yeah.
That's the problem. They bury that in the middle of the description. They're like, John Travolta dances. And I mean, I will say, I like watching John Travolta dance.
Do you think he's still got those moves? Like he can still disco?
Yes.
Do you think he has a disco floor in his house that he like, and he goes and he just like shows off all his moves once in a while?
I think he dances for himself for sure. Like I genuinely think he gets like actual pleasure from dance. And I think he goes into his beautiful mirrored like dance room. It's maybe in the second level of his, Scientology house or whatever. And he just...
And they plays a little Disco Inferno.
He just dances. I don't know if, like, maybe he doesn't like Disco Inferno anymore. Like, maybe he's more into ABBA. I can see John Travolta really, like, just having... Like, he probably wanted desperately to be in Mamma Mia, and they just, like, didn't cast him. They were like, he's too big a name. Like, he's going to take too much attention from Meryl Streep. But, like, he, I want him to, like, just keep dancing at home. Like, I'd love to see him do it publicly as well. But, like I always think Patrick Swayze loved to dance so much, too. And we just, like, don't celebrate, like, celebrate a love of dance just for ourselves enough.
Yeah, that's true.
It's really... And honestly, now this is a segue. When they have all these little beautiful dances in Sylvie's Love, which we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I love it so much. If our listeners made it to this point without us telling you, we're so sorry, Lisa's sick this week and is not joining us. In case you're thinking, Lisa's curiously quiet and absent. Like
we just turned her mic off.
We turned her mic off. She's sitting here looking at us through the video.
I did not want to hear her thoughts on Saturday Night Fever. I can tell you that much.
Yeah, we miss her and love her, and but she's under the weather this week. So it's the two Andreas. I'm Andrea Warner.
I'm Andrea Gin. We're the Andreas.
Andreas. Yeah, we've changed the name of the podcast this week. We're just called the Andreas. Normally you're listening to Pop This. Today it's the Andreas. Welcome. But we are talking about Sylvie's Love, and I'm really excited to talk about this movie. I am really...
This is our first ever podcast where it's just you and me.
It is. Is it an accident that it's a Valentine's Day episode? No. I am excited. It is our first ever podcast where it's just you and me, because you and Lisa have done one where it's just you and her. Mm-hmm. And Lisa,
we did Parasite.
Yeah, and I've missed a couple due to sickness last year.
And you and Lisa did like 4 years of podcasts without me.
I know. Like, I mean, look, it took me, 2 years to convince you to even come on mic once, and you only did it because of Tanya Harding, I think.
Well, yeah, I mean, I had no choice.
I know, you had to. You're patron saint. Talk about an urban provocative tragedy.
Yeah.
No, provocative urban tragedy. I guess it was a suburban tragedy more so, but anyway. International stage though for that Tanya. Sylvie's Love. I'm so happy to talk about this movie. After I watched it, like again, I've watched it during what is arguably an emotionally fraught week. So I'll just say, like, we'll get into the description of it after, but I'll just say while we were watching it, I kept squealing at so many different like cute, adorable moments that Carlos literally turned to me. He's like, "Did you take an edible before we started watching?" I was like, "No, I just apparently have a lot of feelings, and I can't, this moment is too cute." And like, I just like Roger. I mean, I just, after we had like our Bridgerton episode, and I fell in love with Roger. I know that I'm using just half of his first name, but I don't even care because that's how close we are now as people. Like he's acting up every moment that he's on scene, and then we have Namdi, and anyway, Sylvie's Love.
I mean, it's probably the most beautiful film. I mean, we just recently did see In the Mood for Love, so I can't say like beautiful film we've seen.
Yeah, it's
this
beautiful.
year or anything.
Like, yeah,
but it's kind of like in the realm of an In the Mood for Love. If you like rich visual tapestry,
yes,
you have to watch this movie.
And like just incredible color, like the vibrancy of like a green wall or a blue wall or a red wall or like a pink dress, or just like there's like this there's so many great costumes and so many outfits and just cars and set dressings, and like it's so beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Ugh. So it's almost nauseating. That's how beautiful it is.
We should read the background because probably not a lot of people have heard of this.
I agree. So do you want to read the background and then I'll do the synopsis?
Sure. Sylvie's Love is a 2020 American drama film written, directed, and produced by Eugene Ash. It stars Tessa Thompson, Nnamdi Asomugha, Ryan Michelle Bath, Regé Jean Page, Aja Naomi King, and Eva Longoria. It was amazing to see Eva Longoria in this movie.
I know. I was like, wow, this is great. Okay, cool.
It had its world premiere at the Sundance Film Festival on January 27th, 2020, and was released on December 23rd by Amazon Studios.
So I'm going to read the synopsis. In Sylvie's Love, the jazz is smooth and the air sultry in the hot New York summer of 1957. Robert, a saxophonist, spends late nights playing behind a less talented but well-known band leader as a member of a jazz quartet. Sylvie, who dreams of a career in television, spends her summer days helping around her father's record store as she waits for her fiancé to return from war. When Robert takes a part-time job at the record store, the two begin a friendship that sparks a deep passion in each of them, unlike anything they've felt before. As the summer winds down, life takes them in different directions, bringing their relationship to an end. Years pass, Sylvie's career as a TV producer blossoms, while Robert has to come to terms with what the age of Motown is doing to the popularity of jazz. In a chance meeting, Sylvie and Robert cross paths again, only to find that while their lives have changed, their feelings for each other remain the same. And that write-up is from Rotten Tomatoes. Yeah. Oh my God. Okay. So like,
I think like what people should know that might like immediately make you want to watch the movie is that it's like Tessa Thompson in a sweeping romance. And I kind of have been waiting because I've been following her career, and like she's been in so many great things. And I think like her starring in this romance is just like, it's a huge treat for Tessa Thompson fans.
I completely agree. And I like the sort of sometimes her line deliveries in other films have struck me as being just like so utterly specific. Like they almost feel like they're they are coming from a different time period, and this is the time period they're coming from. Like she is, like this feels like a play that was transferred to film in a lot of ways. Like I can easily see this as being like a staged romance and drama, and we've done a lot of that recently. So like there's a certain kind of like vernacular that Eugene Ash, I think, who wrote and directed it, so certain line deliveries of hers are kind of in this, I don't know, just like so stylized for 50s and 60s, and it's so perfect. Like, but I also
she has like these like big doe eyes, and like she's dressed in the most amazing, like I think she's wearing a Chanel gown in one of the scenes, and
the
like her wardrobe in this,
flawless. And yeah, obviously her face is like perfect, of course,
and then
but,
she has all these like 60s 50s 60s like hairstyles.
The hairstyles are amazing, and I just like, you must have loved like, well, not just like all the gowns, but like even her like casual wear, and like her like when she's wearing like cute jeans with the little rolled up ankles, and like oh my god, like every outfit of hers. Let me just say, when there are going to be spoilers throughout this, obviously, because we're going to talk about it kind of like in depth, but when Sylvie and Robert like sort of finally fall for each other in that sort of magical summer, and suddenly they're on a bicycle built for two, like literally have somehow found a double bike that they're like going on adventures with. I laughed out loud, but I also was like, I was like, I'm in. I love the dreaminess of this. Like I don't like, I don't know that they necessarily have like, 1,000 burning suns of chemistry together, but their performances are so good that it actually like creates something like just a little bit more meaningful, a little bit more epic. And God, Nnamdi Asomugha, he's so good. Like he is like such a wonderful actor. And when he does that little hop and skip up the stairs to like kiss her the first time. Anyway, I know I'm jumping ahead, but I just love it.
But so I didn't know anything about him as an actor before I did the research after watching this movie.
Oh, I had no idea.
And he was a professional football player in the NFL for a long time, like 11 years before he became an actor. And also, he's also married to Kerry Washington.
I know.
I had no idea.
Yeah, I totally wild. When I saw him on screen, I was like, who is this amazing sweetheart with his like pants are just like 2 inches above his waist, and his sweaters are so short, and he's just like such a delight. Like his character is, and as a saxophonist and just like as a man, and just like everything about his like, and like just the fact that like he's a writer and a producer as well as an actor, and one of the best football players in the world, like one of the best Oakland Raiders ever or whatever. Wild.
Yeah.
Wild to me.
Well, yeah, I mean, you just don't normally hear about people transitioning, like when they've been a huge success in a different career, transitioning into acting successfully.
Yeah, well, at least not this successfully, because this is like there have been a lot of other sort of like, actor athlete kind of combos and stuff. Like LeBron was great actually in Trainwreck. I think he did a great job in that, and he has a lot of charm, and he's like very talented, but like, there's not a lot of people who do it really well. This is such a beautifully nuanced performance. Like I mean, I'm, obviously Tessa Thompson is incredible in it, and I love her so much as well. But like, and there's, have you seen the
Creed movies?
No, I have not. I know you love the Creed movies.
You have to watch.
I will watch the Creed movies.
It's like her and Michael B. Jordan are a couple, like they're a romantic couples in those movies, and they're so amazing, both of them.
Yeah, I want to see the Creed movies. I don't know why I never have.
Just
but
watch it because of them. Because
yeah,
like,
that's all I would watch it for, like
yeah.
for sure. I just like I was not. I had been told, and I'd watched the trailer like a few times, and I had been told that this movie was really like a a romance, but also a love story about music as well. And I don't know that I think there's a lot of interesting stuff about music. I feel like what this movie, I was not prepared for it being like a straight up vintage, like romantic drama.
Yeah,
like it
me
feels
neither.
like it feels like it's something I've not seen in a long, long time.
Yeah, I know, because it's just like it's so slow. The pace is so slow, and like how you don't really, because part of the story is that she's this kind of groundbreaking, one of the first Black women executives in
Mm-hmm.
TV,
Yeah.
and you kind of like I was throughout the movie kind of just waiting. Like I was like, when are we gonna get switched to her story? Like
Yeah.
when are we gonna hear about her rise in her career and like her all the challenges and barriers she faced
Yeah.
like becoming this executive, and it never really gets too much into that, and it never really gets too much into like Robert's jazz career. Like you hear it like he's struggling, and even though he's super talented, but you never really hear him play that much. Like there's a couple scenes,
Yeah.
but it doesn't really delve into that. It doesn't really delve into her friendship with her best friend, who seems like really interesting and doing
Yeah.
a
Her
lot of
cousin
amazing
Mona.
things. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the film does not care to talk about any of these like side stories that you normally would hear about in a film. Or talk about, the historical times that they're living in. Like the racism that they face is kind of, a passing thing that happens to them at a dinner that they're hosting.
Well, this
but
is
they
like the
don't
height
really,
of civil rights and like
it's and none of that is kind of examined, but it's interesting because like the director made that deliberate choice.
yeah. Yeah. Well, and that's the thing though. Like I mean, lots of movies do deal with that though. Like that's like the sort of like the like adversity and trauma are like very like central stories to a lot of Black films. This is a movie about like this is a Black love story, and it gets to be a Black love story. It acknowledges its context. It acknowledges like its characters' journeys. I think it does try to do a ton of stuff, like too much. I think because of the ground it wants to cover. Like it talks about class issues. It talks about racism. It talks about racism and class within like sort of like within Black communities in different stratospheres of success in society within Black communities. Like they've got a lot of stuff going on, and I think it does try to cover like so much ground that it almost, I think it could like be a little bit better focused, like, but at the same time, like, what am I as a viewer who enjoyed so many different aspects of it? What am I wanting to lose out on there? I don't, because I want to see like, I love the fact that her relationship with her cousin and her cousin Mona, who's her best friend, is important to her, and we want to see like that relationship, how it grows, and like it's like this movie covers so much ground in the space of 2 hours that it kind of almost needs to be 4 hours. But then you don't want to sit through a 4-hour epic, like that's too much.
Well, I thought that there's this really interesting quote from Eugene Ash after Sundance, where after the premiere, I'm just going to read it. He said, Ash said it best after the Sundance premiere of Sylvie's Love back in January, noting that he was inspired to write a script after looking through old happy photographs of his own family from the 1950s. Seeing how his ancestors carried themselves with love and dignity, he decided to reflect the truth he found in those pictures, an alternate reality not frequently mirrored in cinema about the Black experience, even today. I wanted to make a film where Black people of the era don't exist through adversity, but through love, he said.
Yeah, and I think that that's like shouldn't that be everyone's right as like artists and like film? You know what I mean? Like like I just, the burden of of just, sort of one person always having to tell one story. Like blackness is not a monolith. There are like so many different sort of identities within, within that experience of being black and black identity. Like, it's like everyone, there are stories for everything and everyone. And I feel like it's, that just sort of like always being tied to trauma or grief that's like too much to carry for anybody, like that's, I don't know. I understand like the sort of fleeting acknowledgments that he writes into the script might seem like they're just too slight.
Mm-hmm.
But they are there to sort of show to show the context of how these characters come to be. Like, they are there to sort of like give nuance to how the characters' identities have come to be, but they are not the sole things that inform these characters' identities. They get to be living, breathing people who, love passionately or lie because they think it's like better for somebody, or make bad choices or make good choices or whatever, like they get to love music and love TV and like try to find places for themselves in like, difficult situations where historically they have been, and continue to be like deep inequality and deep inequity is at sort of the root of a shared lived experience. And it's just, I don't know. I really appreciate that this story exists, and I want there to be like a million more, like I want there to be a million more love stories, that are like black love stories. And I think that I don't know, it just like deepens like the whole experience of sort of black identity in film and popular culture.
It's just like, they're creating this romance because like to sort of insert back into the history of romance movies, because like nothing like it exists.
Yeah. Yeah. I completely agree. Like, and I, like, I don't know. I think I didn't know that I liked romance movies. Like
well, they're pretty few and far between, like,
yeah. And I guess like a lot of them just feel like overwrought or stupid, or like you don't feel that invested in the characters sometimes, like I just, but I mean, perhaps it's like the foundation of my foundation for a lot of my pop culture experiences are in soap operas from when I was a kid. And so there's an element of this movie that feels not necessarily like a huge soap opera, but there's like an element that feels like a bit like a soap opera, There's so much that I think people probably watch this movie and are like, this is like fantasy of adulthood where everyone is just like not mad enough and not like, it's not, it's not, there's no violence. There's no hatred. There's just people who are trying their best, but still somehow not nailing it at every turn,
Yeah.
Because stuff is complicated. Like, I love that this movie...
It's such a soft touch.
It's such a soft touch, but it's also like the emotional intelligence at work there is that it shows us there are just so many different ways to resolve conflict, like, I mean, none of it's like nothing.
Yeah.
It's not super successful all the time, but there's just like, if you sort of like center stuff within love, it doesn't have to go the expected route of like vicious fireworks and acrimony and the like hate. It can just be like, I don't know, emotionally mature.
Yeah. But I think like even with her career development, like she's kind of mentored by this other black woman who hires her, and then that woman is like, oh hey, I got married, I'm going to start a family, so I'm just going to retire and put you in my place. Like, it's just like so undramatic how like
Yeah.
everything unfolds. Like, she's not, and then, you know, like she just goes on to produce the show the way she wants to, and she allows the host to be herself and
I
all this
loved
stuff.
that. Honestly,
Yeah.
I loved that when she's just like, yeah, I just let her be herself. And
Yeah.
like this is
But there's like no drama around any of that. Like, it's just like she's just allowed to sort of sail through her career as, you know, like a white male middle-aged character
well,
would.
and but they also like they don't put her through a bunch of sort of like nonsensical sort of they don't make her sort of like earn something she, you know, like she's already smart. She's already able to sort of like be decisive and say, like, you know, I think she really impresses her boss when in the interview she's like, oh, I'm not going to stay late to let some male producer chase me around the office. And it's like such a smart, like, it's just her confidence in her like the strength of her character is, you know, that she does have these like two parents who love her. She's obviously closer to her father than her mother. Her mother has a lot of ideas about like how girls behave, et cetera, et cetera. You know, and so there's like little complications here and there, but like we're given enough information about how she has grown up to understand what motivates her as a character in her adult life, and to see her sort of like obviously succeed because like she's got a good head on her shoulders. Like, she is a smart, competent woman, and this movie gives us smart, competent women who like are great and still allowed to be flawed, but are just allowed to be smart, competent, cool women.
And I feel like it gives you like it reminds you of the sexism of the time, just like by like giving you ever so little nudges, like so you know that it's happening and it's still there, but it's not the center of the story.
Yeah.
Like her mother giving her that talk about how she shouldn't be dating anyone below her station.
Yeah.
And then like going through that etiquette school, and there's just like all these kind of very soft, subtle scenes or reminders of like the time she is living in.
Yeah.
You know, the continued expectations that women's jobs are secondary to their husbands' jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like how they sort of were able to weave that in, but it wasn't like the central concern of her as a character.
It's not like flashy. It's not like look at me. Like these are like the expected problems that you will have, not just like in the work industry and in the work field, in media, like et cetera, like the like most sort of overt stuff. I think I really appreciated the like when, and I guess when people talk about like that the movie doesn't acknowledge the racism of the time as much as it needs to, like I obviously like am not a black person, so I'm not going to speak to whether or not it does, but what I thought that it did really, what I was really like the scene in which the two men, after they have like their dinner party, and the two men get up to go and have like their cigar and their drink, and the women are left behind, and the white woman immediately is just a racist monster, and but like in the very sort of like refined, polished way of like, oh no, not you, you know, and like just she's so awful and so racist, and I really appreciate that like Tessa Thompson's her acting in that moment and what Sylvie goes through on her face, and just like steeling herself, immediately getting up and being like, no, I'll go, you know, handle this. And then her like, you know, she doesn't let her husband get away with saying that these are nice people.
Yeah.
You know, like she's immediately like, no, they're bigots. Like this is like let's call it what it is. 'Cause that's what you have to do, like to name it, you know? And I really appreciated that scene and the depth of that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I just appreciated just like, it's this kind of sweeping melodrama, and it's so smooth, and you go through a lot of stuff like we were talking about, but there's no anger in this movie. It's just this very like elegant, smooth tale. And yeah, and I feel like we don't see that in movies a lot.
Honestly, we don't. Like, I kept waiting. I could feel, and I noted this a lot actually throughout, is that I'm so conditioned that conflict has to be violence that I actually kept holding my breath, waiting for Lacey to hit her or someone like they're like, that is such a normal way to show conflict, is literal physical violence and literal like and domestic abuse that and honestly in so many films that we have watched. You know, like I think about the I, Tonya story, and like, yes, literally that is part of her life, but like the way that they dealt with like the horrific domestic abuse in that film, and like it's played for both laughs and horror, and that's, you know, a really screwed up way to sort of think about it and stuff. But like I kept holding my breath, like especially when she gets home after she has gone to the concert with Robert, or she went to go see Robert play, and she gets home late and Lacey's waiting for her, and she sits on the floor at his knee. I like, there was everything. I was like, you know, just because like, I think as a viewer, I have been conditioned to, you know, just all conflict is potential form of, you know, physical violence.
Yeah. I
am so grateful to this movie for making me aware of like how I've been conditioned.
Yeah. Well, I mean, because even like they slow play like everything, like even when, you know, she splits up with Lacey, like she doesn't immediately run into Robert's arms. Like it just, she kind of like, we learn that she's just living her life, and Robert kind of hears about their split like secondhand or whatever, and she just kind of waits for him to come see her.
Yeah.
You know, like it's such a slow played hand, and you don't often see that.
No. And there's just like, there's so many beautiful moments. Like, I mean, every time they dance, my heart just like melted, like every time they danced. When he skips up the steps to her, after like when on their first kiss, when Mona and her are lying on the floor listening to a record talking about her and Robert's first time and how it's extraordinary, I was just like, this is exactly actually how a lot of girlfriends might lie on the ground and talk about you know, their dates and their love lives with boys, and like just Harlem in 1957, and like all the jazz clubs, and like it's, oh man, it's just so beautiful. It feels so good.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. But so why do you think this movie is kind of gone a little bit like under the radar, even though it's gotten like pretty much like excellent reviews from across the board from everyone? Well, but I still feel like not a lot of people have seen it or are talking about it.
I mean, I think a lot of people don't, like, it's so quiet, right? Like, it's a quiet film. It's a quiet film that's like a romance and a bit of a melodrama. And I think like we are more likely to sort of not engage with those films for so many different reasons. Like, I mean, there's like obviously like misogyny, and there's racism, and there's a bunch of different reasons as to why people may not engage with this movie that I think we all know about. But like, I also feel like it came out on Christmas, and like a slow burn romance like might not feel like a Christmas movie. Like it might feel more like a Valentine's movie. And I can see it not appeal. Like I can see people coming out of it after they'd seen it. Well, after the movie ended on their TV, I can see that like people just being like, huh, that wasn't what I expected. And like not knowing what to do with that. And like, I mean,
because I hadn't heard about it at all until you suggested it.
Really?
And I'm a Tessa Thompson fan.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I've been hearing about it a lot for a long time, but I think it's because we watch a lot of movie trailers in our house. And also I am a sucker for a lot of movies about music that have music as like a strong foundation. And I had, anyway, but I hadn't watched it yet and I really wanted to.
I feel like the title too is a little bit like doesn't serve the movie well.
I think the title is another one of those throwbacks, right? Like it's not a great title. I agree with you completely. And I think also because of some of the things that we talk about, like it almost tries to serve like too many different people in the sort of expanse of its scope, you know, like there's a lot of story stuff going on and no storyline really gets served adequately at all. Even I would argue Robert and Sylvie's storyline doesn't get as much space as it needs. I wonder if this movie is actually secretly 3.5 hours long,
right?
But they cut it down to 2. Because, you know, that was like the rule or something. Because like there's even a line in the trailer that doesn't make it into the film, which is Sylvie explaining about how she's seen every episode of television ever. Like, and that's kind of an important line, given that like all we get is that she keeps watching I Love Lucy when she should be paying attention to the record store, you know? So like sometimes the subtlety is beautiful and really moves the story along in a gorgeous way, and the subtlety is wonderful. And other times it creates real holes, you know, in the film. Like honestly, if they could do this one thing for me as a fan, if we could expand Sylvie's Love into its own cinematic universe, and it could be like the story of Mona and Sylvie during these same 6 years, and then the story of Robert and Chico during these years. I wouldn't mind Carmen could get her own story with the band leader. Can you imagine? That'd be great.
You should just start writing a fan fiction, and then maybe it'll get made into a movie.
I mean, I've never really had much time to pursue fan fiction, unfortunately. But I just think like maybe if I just write a fan letter to Eugene Ash, I can just be like, look, I can see that you had a lot of other stories you wanted to tell within this one film. Could you please consider?
Can you imagine if we lived in a world where this romance was treated like the Marvel universe and every character had their own like origin franchise?
Yes, I can. I can imagine that world. I absolutely can, 1,000%. And I think it would be just you know, just as worthy, if not more, obviously. Because like, yeah, why shouldn't it? Like, I mean, superheroes are just soap operas and capes. Like, that's fine. It's, you know, it's not, people want to pretend they're different, but they're not. And I would just love to spend so much more time with it. Oh my God. And a backstory about how Sylvie's mom and dad fell in love. Because like, I don't understand, like Mr. J is so chill and Mrs. J is not chill.
Yeah.
And I just would love to know a little bit more, but like
how that happened. Yeah.
Well, and I just like, you know, like I think that would be a really interesting story. And I just, honestly, Sylvie's Love could fully expand into like a 10-part movie series and I would watch every single one of them.
Agreed. I would too.
Okay. So it pops is what we're saying. Is that what?
Yeah, I think that's what we're saying.
Okay.
Yeah.
It pops.
Yeah, just like you have to be in the mindset of you're watching a sweeping romance.
Yes.
It's a slow burn. Just get set for that.
Like dig in, like just really like get a blanket, just like dig into your couch. Yeah, I think that's like, and honestly, like watch it for Valentine's Day. It's so romantic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's just like, yeah. I'm sad we don't have Lisa here because I really would love, like she loves rom-coms usually. We haven't done a romance really ever.
Yeah, I know.
I feel like
she's the closest of us to being like the romance expert.
Totally. Yeah. So yeah, anyway, so sorry, we miss you, Lisa. If you're listening to this, you might never listen to this. It's fine. We do love to leave our episodes on things that we recommend. AG, do you want to go first?
Sure. I don't normally recommend, like we both work at CBC and I don't usually recommend CBC things because it, I don't want
conflict of interest.
I want it to seem like sincere. But there's a new show debuted this week on CBC Music where we work called The Block.
Yay, The Block!
Yeah, and it's a new show hosted by Angeline Tatahueo, and they're playing like hip hop and reggae and R&B, and it's on CBC Music on weekday nights from 7 to 9, and you can listen to it on demand as well on our website. And it's produced by our great colleague Judith.
Yay, Judith!
Yeah, and it's just like I listened to the first couple episodes and it blew me away. Music is so great, and I just like it's such an interesting, fun show, and I'm so happy that it's on the air. Well, and I think everybody should listen to it.
Yeah, and it's like it's like as we say all the time, like, it's so important to have shows made, like shows that have like, just like a real sort of like a real authenticity of experience. So The Block is very specifically like about Black music made by Black people for Black people. Like it's like, and it's, yes, obviously everyone should listen, but like this is a Black experience and it's called The Block. And I'm just like so thrilled and so proud of Judith, and I love her so much. So I'm so happy for her and Angeline, and I'm so excited.
Yeah, it's great.
Total other direction, and I'll front load this with the explanation, of course, that you heard at the top of the. I'm in a raw state this week, and I finally relented, and started watching this show that's been off the air for a while. So I've started watching this show called Castle. It stars Nathan Fillion, who I really adore, actually. I've watched him since he was basically a child on Another World. He had a great May December romance with this like much older woman named Dorian. Anyway, wonderful. Anyway, he's a murder mystery writer who he wants to like sort of go with this detective to sort of investigate murders. He gets a crush on her, uses his influence and pull to get basically like assigned to be her shadow so he can go and investigate murders with her. Like, obviously it's like kind of a dumb premise, but there is something very charming about Nathan Fillion and Stana Katic, she plays Detective Beckett. Anyways, the show itself, I'm not going to say that it's like, genius, flawless, high art or anything. I don't care about high art. Like I did not expect to get so invested, but here I am. Season 5.
Wow.
In the last like couple weeks, I really ramped up my watching. It's the only thing I can't concentrate on a lot of other things right now. But I can watch Castle.
Yeah, it goes back to that whole thing where like sometimes you just need some TV wallpaper.
Exactly. And I genuinely am. There's like kind of a romance at the heart of this show as well. And turns out I'm into that romance as well. I can't believe I was invested. They had, spoiler alert for anybody who, they have this like sort of fake kiss in season 3. And I actually gasped. So if you want to know where I'm at emotionally, I am gasping at the kisses between fictional people on a TV show that's been over for a number of years. This is less a recommendation and more a cry for help, I realize.
Well, that's how we like to end our episodes.
No, I do enjoy this show, but you know, take it for what it's worth. It's like, it's better than it seems, but I'm not going to say it's great. So, but I am enjoying it a lot. So, will I end up?
I like that rating. Better than it seems.
Yeah, better than it seems. Not great, but I still love it. Maybe I love it. I think, yeah, I like it a lot. We'll see. I don't know if I love it yet. We'll see. I think somehow secretly some of the writers gives me like kind of like, anyway, it's fine. Obviously, watching any detective show is a bit problematic, and it's really, you know, you don't want to. That's the thing. I don't cheer for the police in these shows, but I'm curious as to how people try to figure out why others murder people. And this is my problem with all police procedures. Anyway, okay. Enough.
But you know what? It's good because someday we do have future plans to open the Andrea's Detective Agency.
Oh my God. Do you remember when we thought it would be a great idea to potentially do a true crime podcast where we investigate and detect stuff? Do you remember that?
I don't know why you're talking about it in past tense. I'm still thinking about it.
Yeah, it's always in there until we do it, of course. But I would just, God, there are some crimes I would love to solve in this city outside, you know, like real crimes, like not fake crimes. Sure. But God, bringing some, it would be such a good time. I think we'd be good detectives. I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah. We'd just podcast our adventures.
Absolutely. And you know what?
I think we'd be great detectives.
Oh yeah, for sure. I like now that I know that I can do wound care, I could also maybe
That's useful.
Like I feel like one of us could get stabbed on our detecting and I could suture us up.
Yeah, so I feel way more confident now about doing that.
Thank you. Yeah, I feel more confident now too. Well, and I guess like also I've been wearing a lot of like gloves, protective gloves at home too, like as I do like attend to different needs. And so I think I could handle like crime scene stuff without getting my fingerprints on them. So I've learned a lot.
Yeah.
I've learned a lot at home. Okay.
That's important.
Yeah. Thanks everyone for listening.
Come to the end of the Andrea and Andrea show.
Yeah, there's a real unhinged energy that apparently we need Lisa to like just like make us a little bit less I don't know, just something. Lisa's the stabilizing influence in here.
Well, like I'm sure we would not have gone into like stabbing and wound care if Lisa had been here.
You're right. She would have pulled us back from that. That's good. Yeah. Yeah. So thank you everyone for listening. You can hang out with us on social medias and our Instagram, our Facebook, our Twitter. You can email us at popthiscollective@gmail.com. I forgot to tell you. Hold on. I forgot to tell you. We had like this nice message through Instagram the other day that a listener was like, hey, Andrea Gin was talking about bay leaves. I have a tree in my backyard in Hastings Sunrise. If she needs fresh bay leaves, I would be happy to give her some. So thank you so much. That's like so nice.
Wow, that is so nice. That's such a dream because I was like, could I plant my own bay leaf bush? But then I heard they grow like so large and we just I don't have the space for that kind of thing.
Well, you've got a open invitation to do some light harvesting in East Van. So
amazing.
Yeah, I'll forward you that message. So so thank you so much. Yeah, Yeah. And hopefully Lisa feels better soon.
I know. Needless to say, we looking forward to having Lisa back
Absolutely.
as soon as possible.
Absolutely.
Like, who knows what kind of Instagram messages we're going to get after this episode gets dropped.
So many. I just like the ads for wound care. I don't know. And thank you so much to our co-host and producer, Andrea Gin, who is
That's me.
You. We make her do double duty, and it seems unfair, but here we are.
So yeah, thanks for listening, everybody.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.
Bye.